Welcome everyone to the 238th weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. It's September 22nd. It's 6. We'll just call it 6. 6 and change.
Yeah.
For everyone else, it's not 6, except for us in our own little world, which is the EST time zone.
We're special. It's let's just make it our own country. What if
What are you talking
countries
about?
were
It's
time
like
zones?
First thing in the morning, Pixie Land.
This is a horrible idea. Please don't make countries time zones.
No. What if time zones were countries? I mean, like Eastern time zone was just one country. You're all just in a sliver together.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Maze here. We couldn't call that Central Standard Time. We'd have to just call it tea time.
Love it.
All right, as you might be able to hear, we have the moderator of Small Cats, Alleyclaw.
Why, hello.
And we got the moderator of Baguettes and Cheese, Artemis.
Oh.
The moderator of Fluffy's Eye.
Hello.
And the moderator of Down Under, Pixie Knob.
Hello, welcome to the moderation Down Under. We have the moderator of everything, our eternal Lord and Savior. May he live forever.
Hail Santa.
Undeadly.
Wait.
Hail Santa. LD.
Hi.
I feel like Pixie could be the new middle manager of the zombie cult. Like, that was a very nice title.
Yeah, I'm willing to invest in this one. Also, it just occurred to me, what if Pixie's just been lying to us all this time?
Oh no.
What if they're just living in Los Angeles and they're trying to build up their acting career and they're trying to get typecast into an Australian role, so they've been working on their accent online with a bunch of people.
This is a very specific role, an Australian brony artist.
Yeah, well, the next MLP documentary coming out.
Yeah, that or Pixie's just like the president of Australia, and it's just like you're just like a governor or a prime minister or something, and just like trying to have fun in your free time.
Yeah, this is why there was a bad response to the bushfires. I was just too busy drawing paintings.
I knew it.
All right, well, you're welcome, everyone who joined in for that wonderful chat. It was very informative and useful.
And good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
Keep drawing.
So as always, if you have any art, please fire it towards our faces at high speed. We will intercept it with our faces and yell, "I am Fabio," and collect it.
Or you could just hand it to us politely.
Yeah.
Wait,
Or
how
give us the
drunk do I have
hyperlink.
to be? This just feels like I need to be drunk in this scenario.
I mean, drunken MLPDS stream seems great. I'm sorry, Pixie. You are waking up to get schmammered. The rest of us is like, you know what? This is late. We got two people rolling around midnight here. It's fine for them. Alright, so our first pony to get schmammered with has been drawn by Melody Breeze 1, and it's founded random MLP OC generator, and got this drawing out of it. On the top right is the description it gave me. So I take it they found a random pony generator, clicked it, it gave them this horse, and they drew it. That's always a fun one. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just being horse.
Fun.
This is that purpley bluey horse on the leftmost, in case you're wondering. It appears though they don't have any questions, but they did, however, supply us with the pony generator. So I'll just click on this and see what ponies we get, guys. This is important stuff.
Our government assigned new pony OC.
Yeah. Alright, my character is a changeling. The character is a male adult and cannot acquire a cutie mark. He is very short, and his body is chitinous. That makes sense. He's a changeling. Sparse mane is very long, while his tail is floor length. He has no quirks, oddities, or physical deformities. His palette is something like Number sign 27E1E8.
Oh my God.
Can you see that color in your head?
You know me, I love memorizing my hex codes.
Yeah.
Here's
Why wouldn't you? You're not
here's
an
the
artist,
color
obviously.
generator. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like two of these colors very much. So they are not colors I want as a color palette.
Oh
Mine's a
man.
reformed painting too.
Listen, I like your color palette way better than mine because mine's just screaming at me. It's here. This is mine. I'll post it in chat. Screaming
Wow.
at me.
Wow.
And by the way, it's a male winged zoni, so
What
I
is
have
that?
a zebra pony with
Oh,
wings with that color palette.
okay.
A reformed changeling. Well done, Fluffy.
Nice.
Female
See,
adult.
I have the friendship power.
Obviously cannot acquire cutie mark. Body is kindness. But you have a shaggy mane, which actually very much close to the same person.
Yeah.
Although
I was gonna
yours
say.
ain't floor length yet.
No, not quite, but it is fluffy.
Yeah, actually, every picture I've seen of it, I think fluffy would be the right description for it. Yeah, there you go. Alright, so this horse, completely derailed critique. I am sorry, especially because I'm probably going to link you to the start of this video and you're going to be like, holy shit, they're 12 minutes in and they haven't looked at my horse yet!
This is what happens when you give us toys
We were
to play
leaving
with.
time for white learning to happen.
Yep.
It was a
No, exactly.
distraction. It was planned.
It's fine. Pixie has done all the work for us here. Well, the kids are
as
off
usual,
playing.
jeez.
Pixie's being an adult.
Ah, so good. I've basically just cleaned up some of the, changed up some of the shapes a little bit. I'll redo the eyes, but for now, with these two back legs, how I'm seeing these sort of, come on, let me choose a decent color. Yeah, okay, that works. How I'm seeing this whole sort of torso area is kind of facing this way. So this is sort of the front shoulder, this is sort of the back shoulder. Something roughly like along those lines. And so that's why I've sort of moved the shoulder forward for this front hoof here. To make it feel a little bit more stable. When you have this kind of thing where the two hooves meet in the center, normally what you'll have is you'll have let me draw a little pony down here. Pony, boom, 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 something like along those lines, and then you'll have the other hooves sort of coming out in some kind of a way to balance it out a little bit more. So I've done that. Yeah. I just sketched what I think the body looks like behind there. And then put these back hooves sort of on there, keeping toes a little bit more explicitly, since that's kind of what it looks like. Added the ear, added the back ear as well, just because we like the back ear. Okay, you need to calm down, you silly alarm. That's my alarm to wake up, because these happen early for me. With the eyes, what I've done is I've kind of come on, choose a color that's actually nice.
I think any color you choose is nice.
Oh.
Pretty much just drawn the eye shape of the front here. Cool. And we have the muzzle somewhere around about there. And then on the other side of the muzzle, we have the other eye. I drew it sort of like this, sort of same height. That both eyes are sort of the same height. It's just that the width is different, and that's because this eye right here, the front eye, is sort of facing us more directly, whereas this back eye is sort of facing us at an angle. And so it's just a way to show that the sort of the 3D shape of the head a little bit more. like when I'm doing the head shape, what I'll do is I'll do, let me erase all of this. Yeah, good enough. What I'll do when I'm doing the head shape is I'll have this sort of ball. Yeah, that works. Facing this way, and then I'll cut off the side, so there's a bit of like a flat spot here. And then if you draw balls and stuff sort of from real life and that sort of thing, you'll see the same kind of thing where like you'll get this sort of a shape. But yeah, good horse. I like it. Really good horse. It looks cute. It looks cool. And I'm excited to see some more stuff from you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any advice or stuff like that?
So Maze in our chat actually pointed out the muzzle and nose alignment. If you're gonna go with that anime sort of just stuck onto the face muzzle or mouth, that's totally fine to do. Just bring it down a bit, bring it closer to the bottom of that jawline so we can get some separation between the nose holes and the mouth hole. Now, as far as the texturing you've done for the mane, totally see where you're coming from. We've totally all done this at some point. We've all done spaghetti hair too. It's almost a rite of passage at this point, but try to go beyond it. The reason I say this is because the amount of lines and parts thrown in there is actually very distracting, and it almost feels like noise happening on the picture. If you're going to do highly detailed elements, the rest of the picture should also be as detailed as that. So if you're doing a general horse with, say, 2-color shading and just flat everything, try and do the same with the mane. Try and just do that same wonderful cell shading you've done, bring it over to the mane. You can still try and give it bodies, separate out parts of hair and be like, ooh, this is a little swoosh of hair going out to the side or whatever. That's all perfectly good. That's kosher. That's wonderful. But leaving it as these small little strokes distracts from the rest of the picture. Makes it feel off. But as I was saying, we've all done it. We've all been there. This is how this is how we know this. Next. All right then. On to our next boopity boopity horse.
Yeah. Show us more things. Horses are good.
So this is by Exotic Exon. Eon? Yeah, Exotic Eon. I'm not great with lighting. Help! This is the type of post I love to see. Hey, I have something I need help on. Here's the something I need help on.
Yeah. It's great.
Lighting is the worst. It's
I
honestly.
prefer it to shading.
Yeah,
it's part of the shading.
Just like be aware while we're talking to you about this person who drew this. Lighting is something that's really annoying to get, and it'll just take a lot of time. So don't stress if you can't get it. After looking through this video and following some of the stuff we've got, some of the stuff we discuss in here, it's just something that you'll get better at as you go. But yeah. Sort of my
I will
main
say
advice.
that you've kept the lighting very consistent, which is good. It definitely is hard to figure out how to put light down, but I'm happy to say and see that the way you have the light coming in, it does hit things appropriately. Like you're getting spots that would get hit by light, and you're also acknowledging the spots that won't. So you definitely have an understanding of where light can hit, and that'll definitely grow. And you'll still figure out how to do that, but that's something you're on the right track for, and I just want to acknowledge that.
All right.
Yeah.
So, how can you improve on shading? Because just drawing horses they're pretty, even though they're just bubble animals, they're like made up of a few circles and a few cylinders, and voila, you got a horse. It can still be very complex to get shading understood using a complex object like that. So it looks like someone's actually doing it for me. simple shapes. Simple shapes like spheres, cubes, rectangles. Those are your bread and butter of learning shading and how lighting can interact. Because making it simple, as far as the object goes, helps you simplify all the rules that are happening around it so you don't have to deal with, like, well, how does light go around a curve? That all gets weird. But if you do simple objects like circle, cube, and you just start shading them, you place a light source, bonus points, you can make that light source. You can go grab a tennis ball in your camera phone, turn on its flash, shine that light across it, look how that light falls, redraw it, and try and understand it. Bring that back to your drawing. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a hell of a long time. I think I'm, 10 years into this, and I might know 1% of how light moves, it seems. I can occasionally get good shading, but it takes a long time. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of doing it, but you're on the right track. You have started to lay down light, you have started to lay down shadows, and you've tried to keep it all consistent, which is wonderful. So let's bring it back to the dummy stage and start getting the handle on how light interacts with objects around it. If you want a good source of doing that, I believe Drawbox has a section on shadow or lighting in it, right? After doing
Probably.
like chapter 4 or 5 of doing Cube Madness.
I'm not totally sure.
Okay. Well, otherwise you can go check out our sidebar. We'll have a bunch of guides on how to start out with lighting. Some of them are slightly more in depth, some of them are lighter in depth, but go look through a few of them. They can actually be quite insightful on bringing yourself up to speed on how light is going to be cast on objects. Hope that helps. Hope it wasn't just a rambling, crazy person.
Yeah, I'm just doing these sort of basic shapes over here. And honestly, I tend to just have like sort of pages of these things. And they're really helpful and really useful because when you start getting into like complex shapes, and even like, a box with a little thing poking out the front for the muzzle and like ears, already this is like super complicated compared to like a sphere or a cube. So I like just doing these and trying to learn based off these. And I think as LD mentioned, what I'll do is I'll just grab my... Oh my god. Can you please come to
It's time to wake up again.
It is time to wake up again. What I'll tend to do is I'll just grab my sort of phone or a flashlight or something like that. I'll get a little pony figure or a cube or a round thing or whatever, and I'll just make sure I'm in sort of a slightly dark place, and then shine my flashlight around it and move my flashlight around, and that really helps me sort of understand what's going on a bit more, or where to place shading if I'm not totally sure on it.
Allie, Fluffy, Plum,
Hello.
any of you fine horse people have anything to say about this?
I just think
mean,
that
yeah.
this lightning is actually really great. So yeah, don't really have anything to say on it that you didn't
Yeah.
say already.
Only thing that really bugs me is the grass going around the legs because it doesn't really sort of follow the shading. But yeah.
Something that I would possibly recommend, something that does help me out a lot when I'm trying to do the lighting on something, is what I'll do is I will try to sort of map out my drawing like it's a 3D model, and I will sort of try to draw the contour lines all around it. This is a bad example because I'm bad at drawing at the moment because it's early in the morning. But if you look through my post history, Pixie Nop on the subreddit, I'll have some pictures on there where I've sort of gone over some people's drawing this and done this sort of a thing. And what it does is it lets me sort of visualize which sort of areas of the thing are sort of being hit by the light face on and all that sort of stuff. I find that tends to help a little bit, but you know, you find your own methods as you sketch along and draw.
All right, shall we move on to our next horse?
Let's do it to it.
Yeah,
All right.
keep on drawing. Yeah, good drawing.
Horse.
Horse.
So this one is by Hordak. Hordak? Yes, Hordak. It is
Hordak.
Pony in the Shade. Like that.
That's funny. That's a funny name.
It is Pony in the Shade. I had a hard time with making it look like she was in the shade. I hope it basically worked. Alright, so it looks like you've gone to town on some of those Photoshop brushes. There's mixed feelings in using brushes extensively. Like, obviously everything you're doing is with a brush of some sort, and yes, using brushes, why wouldn't you want to use the tools? It's a matter of using the tools in such a way that does not take away from other elements of it. So, for your elements of the grass, you've done a good job of trying to do multiple layers of grass and giving it, different colorings with it, different shades of that blue-greenish that happens with grass. It's a great way of trying to do it. The problem that comes with this brush that ends up being used is it is very distracting for the image, because we look down and we see hundreds of these little needles that come up, and quickly we're able to identify them as grass, but the rest of the picture doesn't match that level of detail going on. So doing it along the side, like one of my favorite examples for this is go look at the Calvin and Hobbes comics. Go look at how they do details, because they'll put a lot of detail into an image with very simple marks. They will go ahead and put in a few strands of grass here and there, just to emphasize that, yes, they're laying in the grass, yes, the grass is sticking up on them, but it's done in such a way that it doesn't distract from the simplistic style that is going on with the rest of it. And generally MLP is pretty simplistic. There's not much need for an insane amount of detail, and the way you've done up your horse sort of suggests this. You aren't going for the stupidly highly rendered is the wrong word. The very highly rendered images. You're going more for the cell shaded or smooth shading, sort of lovely middle ground on this, where it sort of sticks somewhat in reality and sort of sticks somewhat in MLP of the very simple shading that they do. And it's lovely. It's great. Love some of the shading that's going on here, but when you do the grass at that level of detail, it distracts from the rest of it. Especially in the background.
Yeah, especially it's just really considering the contrast, because having a lot of detail in the environment is not a bad thing, but it's just the contrast between the level of detail in the grass and the pony. And I understand, like, I've been in this position where you've done something like a really beautiful background, and then you realize that, oh, how do I do this detail on the pony without literally just slamming a fur texture brush all over them, which we've talked about not liking before. And if you don't want to do that, then that's absolutely fine, because I can understand why it can be very overpowering, and I think you made the right choice in not doing that. But it can be very like, oh, how do I add detail? There are ways that you can sort of simulate fur with bits of like how the highlighting is and shading and everything is shaped. I've seen, like, look at furry artists. A lot of them do really, really beautiful like shading on the fur that doesn't show it. They haven't just slammed a fur texture brush and everything. It's all sort of implied by the way that they've shaped the shading. But even without that, it's also about how to make the background look like it matches without and has detail in it without being super sharp. And there are ways of sort of painting the background in a way, even if you want to just use brushes like I do, that make it less overpowering. And I can see what you've tried to do is put like the pony in that sort of the light is shining through the trees on them, in little breaks and things, which I understand from having tried many times to do it. It is a very difficult thing to do. I fully respect the choice of using a brush to do it, but it's really hard to find the right brush. I remember I found one recently that was actually really good for it, but I was trying to find it in my settings again, and I can't seem to locate where it is. But it was some kind of leaf brush, but it just worked really well for this sort of thing, because it's what you don't want to be doing is just have your shading, and then you paint light on it, either with the mask on the shading, or just like with the erasing color or whatever, and just paint leaf shapes on, because we're not going to be seeing leaf shapes shining on the character. We're seeing the gap between leaves casting shadow on them. So we're seeing the gaps between the leaves, not the leaves themselves. And I can see quite easily from looking at this that there's all these leaf shapes shoved all over her head, and it's very disorienting the way that it looks, because it's a bit disrupting, I think, the way that it's positioned on the character. And I can see in some places you try to break it up, and you've gone back over with the brush to reapply the shading again, which suggests a layer mask. What I have done before is to if I really want to do this sort of the gaps in the leaves shading, is I will just make a really big thick blob, and then go over again with the brush. And you want to be using a lot of pressure so that the brush is applying its leaves quite in quite thickness, but just be manual about it. Some places might need you to go and just touch up a little bit just to make a few individual leaves split off of it. Some places want to be a bit more thorough with it, but just use your eye. But go around the edge of the blob, and then just cut the leaf shapes into the blob, because what you're seeing then is a gap in the tree with the leaves hitting it. And then you want to take that whole thing and just blur it, because the light is being cast, or the shadow, sorry, is being cast from a great distance. It's not right above the character. The light is being cast from the tree. And as light gets further away from something, it's going to get more and more blurred. If you hold your hand to a desk right under a light, then your hand is casting a pretty thick shadow on the desk. But if you move it further away, obviously it's going to get bigger and more blurred. I know sometimes it's for what you're trying to do, you don't need to go too far in that, but just like a little bit will help it blend in a little bit more, and it will take the eye away from these sharp shapes that are slapped over the head, and will make it a little bit easier to blend, I think. It's a very hard thing to do. It can look really nice when it works, but I think to work it needs to be subtle, because then it's sort of in the back of your mind, and it's just like, oh, look how pretty this is. If it's too in the forefront of your mind, it becomes a bit too much, I think.
Yeah, I've tracked this stuff on top.
Yeah.
Let me. This horse is really good. I like it. It's got a lot of. There's a lot of detail, but like the base shapes in here are really easy to sort of understand, and it's good. It's easy to see that you sort of know a lot about pony shapes and all that sort of stuff. So ear shape. I pretty much just pushed this thing here a little bit more towards the front, just because you have this sort of mains shape here, and then it sort of dips in the middle here, and that's sort of how I tend to imagine the ears going. I flattened off this sort of back hoof thing, just because I tend to like that when you have all this sort of full flesh stuff coming together. This back sort of whole thing here is really difficult and annoying. Something to pay attention to with the hooves is just directionality. So the hooves are kind of facing this direction, and so they'll tend to sort of come to a bit more of a point on this end, which can be useful for when you're looking at hoof shapes. With the light stuff that I've sort of flatted around the image here, what I would keep in mind is, I think someone else said it, but just a little bit softer can be good, and spread it around a little bit more of the image rather than just the head. So instead of just stuff hitting this side of the head, you can sort of have it hit the head, have it spill out onto this little bit of mane, and maybe like a touch on the hooves if you want to, or not. That's fine too. And that'll just have it be a little bit more nice. And I've also got this sort of, on top of this, I've got a multiply layer set to a pretty low opacity. And what I've done is I've just taken a blue brush. Blue brush. Let me crank up the opacity with that. Blue brush. And I've pretty much just colored in the doesn't want to go back down again, but I've pretty much just used that blue brush on a lot of these shadow areas, and what that does is that introduces a bit of color difference between the shadows and the highlights. So the highlights are in yellow, the shadows are in blue, and it pretty much just makes it a it gives the eye a little bit more to like look at, and a little bit more color harmony and all that sort of fun stuff. But yeah, really good horse. I like it.
All right. Anyone else?
No. I'd just say keep up the great work. Don't be afraid of the textured brushes, despite everything we say. It's just like a regular round brush, you need to learn to use the texture brush, and that's really all I have to say on that. It's they're not going to solve all your problems. There's still something you need to learn to use. It's like any arting medium. So don't give up on them just because we're like don't overuse them. Just learn to use them. Like that's going to be a
Yeah.
process. Just like learning how to shade, learning how to draw. It's all there's so many things to learn in art. And it's just another one of those like small facet ones, the specifics of learning how to use specialized brushes.
When you're doing the drawing, you've sort of got the foreground, then the midground, and the background. And it's good to sort of look at other drawings that people have done and sort of see how their textures and how the detail in their textures changes between those three areas as well. Because as you go further into the background, less detail. As you get into darker areas, less detail. And it can also be a really good way to sort of move the eye around, because where the detail is where the eye is going to look. So keep the detail more on the pony, and maybe fade out or blur out the details around here and around here. Then the eye, you can sort of direct the eye towards the most important stuff.
All right. We're gonna
Yeah.
move on to our next picture, which is done by Matt W in our chat. Let me just paste it here.
Next picture.
A puppo.
Horse.
Oh,
Ah, I heard a voice.
Oh, hi, Delta. Right now we're doing a live stream, so if you could mute yourself, you're happy to talk in the voice chat with us. But right now we ask anyone not doing the live stream keep themselves muted, if that's all right.
Okay, that's fine.
But like I said, you're totally feel free to chat in the voice chat or on the pick art. Oh, I thought they left. It was just Maze.
Okay.
And you're free to talk when we're done with it.
Okay.
Oh,
fine.
new drawing.
So, Matt,
Oh,
did you have any
sorry.
questions for us? I know you say all feedback welcome, but if there's anything more specific, that helps us help you.
Anything you are having trouble with, or that you wish to have a second opinion on, or whatever? I like it. I like the sort of warm tones in the
yeah.
highlights over here. It sort of gives me like a subsurfacey feel,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really
I
nice.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are buildings and roofs and such.
I think the thing that sticks out to me is just some general anatomy stuff. Really get yourself those references of wolves or dogs or whatever the creature is, and give yourself time to break that down and really understand what the shapes are. Like in this instance, I feel like the neck and the head have kind of merged to become this tube. And if you look at certain wolf pictures, or they have that big fluffy like it's a red panda. I see.
This is a red panda.
I need
It's
to look at what
a
a red panda
land
looks
red
like.
panda. Yes. And I think then that would still be the same thing to look up red panda references, because if you look at red panda references, they're a blanda.
That's funny.
I got by the joke.
Matt, you win this round.
Red pandas. But yeah, red pandas are cute and stubby nosed and really round faced, and they're just like these puffy bodies. And I mean, I know it's like the thing that nobody likes to hear, but references, like, they have your answers for you, especially for anatomy, especially for lighting. References are just so full of good information. If you give yourself time to really like observe and break down those references and learn from them, they really benefit with the final piece. They really help you learn and understand.
I don't know why I'm drawing over this. I'm bad at furry stuff.
But horses
That's
are
not
furry.
true.
Yeah, but they're not the. They're the different kind of furry.
Where's the stream? Oh, the stream? I can get you the stream.
I beat you.
I'm gonna do it
So fast.
second. But,
Whoa.
but,
What?
wait for it. Oh yeah, pin it.
You know what? That's a good idea.
Fear my mod powers.
How do the bodies go?
Red pandas are very interesting creatures because they're just stubby enough. They're like, when I look at them, I see almost like a weasel face in the shape of the muzzle, but not the length of the muzzle. And they're just very round and fluffy. They got that like soft roundness going more than
No
like
wonder CPC chose to make her own next. I see. A red panda.
it's fair. Yeah, that and the big fluffy tail.
Yeah, that's all CPC.
Do you have any further questions for us, Matt?
I'm just doing some random rough sketching. Not sure how useful it is.
Yeah,
It's probably good with this beanie thing. It's probably good to sort of keep the center of the head in place if you're looking for that. I'm not sure. It could be intentionally sort of off center, but then I'd sort of expect it to go a little bit more like that. But if you look at the center, tend to like flatten off and then sort of dip down at the sides, something like that. A little, just a touch more explicitly.
So I don't know if I'll be controversial by saying this, and I'm just responding to Matt in the chat. The reason why a lot of red pandas or a lot of any furry content has that kind of muzzle, a wolf muzzle, is because that's just the common animal. Wolves, foxes, and it's fine if you want to do that by choice, but a lot of reasons why there's a joke that nobody can draw any other animal besides a wolf and a fox in the furry fandom, because that's just like, what species is it? Oh, it's a wolf, it's a fox. It kind of meshes together. So just be aware of the references you're looking at. it's good to keep that in mind as well. So if you want it to portray as a red panda, go to the source, unless you really
Yeah.
like that muzzle type, that's fine. If it's a choice, that is fine. If that's what your commissioner wants, if they want the red panda to have a fox muzzle or a wolf muzzle, that's fine. But as long as it's your choice and you're not just blindly copying trends you see, a lot of things in art, it's really easy to blindly copy. It's something an artist develops is to make choices. Like, I realize that this is a fox muzzle or a wolf muzzle, and it's what I want, versus, oh, they draw it that way, I'm just going to do it. And that's
Yeah.
something that builds up over time and with a lot of like absorbing references and all that. So,
Mm.
I mean, it's again, as long as it's your choice, that's fine. But if you
I
walk up to
agree.
somebody and say, "Here's my red panda," and then it looks like a fox, you know what I mean? It's a little.
I spent ages trying to like study photos of raccoons and stuff to figure out how to draw my character. It is important if you want your character to have that really like legitimate feel like the species that they are, and not just feel like a furry character. Like, yeah, it could if you want to have like a generic furry style. And that's not to say that it's bad. I really love the sort of typical style you see used a lot in furry art, and I wish I could do it better. But if you want to have that, and that's absolutely fine. If you want your stuff to be more recognizable as like a particular animal and really get that feel in there, then that's sort of what I would focus on, is studying actual animal photos. And what I did, I think, once was I literally traced a photo. I got a photo of a raccoon. I traced over it like really roughly, not like super specifically, just really super roughly, just going over the vague shape of the thing. And I put it to the side, and then I did it again. I copied that from like over to the side of it, with the photo turned off this time, and I sort of cartoonized it. So I'd sort of copied my own like rough tracing, and then turned it sort of cartoon, if that makes sense. And I think that helped a lot to sort of figure out a lot of the sort of, the muzzle, it goes this way.
Mm. It's interesting, like how much you can go between like getting something anatomically correct, and also just like ignoring that in favor of interesting shape language. And that's kind of why down here I've sort of had that out, because I like the sort of shape that comes from like having this whole sort of neck shape and that sort of stuff. But yeah, just references and drawing and redrawing and stuff like that. It's like whenever I draw a new animal, it just takes a fair while of trying it and stuff. But this looks good.
There's a
I like
lot
it.
of little differences that make it that animal,
Yeah,
It's
yeah, exactly.
one of the most important things, I think, more than anything than just learning to draw as an artist, is learning to think. And I don't mean this in a bad way at all. Like, I know it sounds bad, but it's the skill of observation is so important to an artist. The skill of learning those observation tools, like not just drawing what you see, but learning to see things, learning
Completely
to,
agree. Yeah.
see the differences, learning to pick up like what's like again, you can draw whatever you want. I'm never going to stop you, never going to say no, don't draw that. Draw whatever you want. But if you want to draw certain things, there's things that you're going to want to look into more, take maybe a little more seriously. Like if you want to draw a human versus a dragon, or like if you wanted to pick something and you want the image to say what it is, you're going to have to learn to figure out, okay, when I observe this image, what tells me this is a dragon? If I
Mm,
observe this image, what tells me this is a bird versus
yeah.
a cat?
I've
That
said
kind of
before about
adverse
how like
observation.
sorry. I said before about how learning to like improving with art is not just it's multiple things. Part of it is learning actual like art skills, sure, but like what really creates growth as an artist is learning to learn. It's your ability to take information to figure out how to like. There's nothing more disorienting when you're sort of starting out than like I don't know how to make this drawing work, and I have absolutely no idea how to find out how to make this drawing work. Like, I'm just gonna keep trying and bashing my head against the wall until something works, or like look at other people's art and still not really be able to figure out how they made it look the way that it looked. But then as you get better at art, you part of that is getting better at understanding things, like you said, Ali. And it's like, oh, I can see how this artist has drawn these lines and how they built up their anatomy because I've developed enough to be able to understand those things. And sometimes it's how to study references and photos, and sometimes it's just how to analyze your own skills and development and your past works and how to build from there. It's a multitude of things, but learning how to sort of that is a skill that comes with developing as an artist, and is instrumental to getting better, because as you develop that, you start developing your abilities faster. And I think without it, you'll just be like developing at a snail's pace. You'll still be getting better, but just very, very slowly, and it's very hard to really take in a lot of the information that you need to be able to sort of progress forward, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
I love how, like, whenever we don't quite have enough to say about the image, it just like devolves into like art
Yeah,
philosophy, basically.
it's very meta conversation.
Yeah. Something with this background. The first thing I did was I sort of added these like little tree sort of shapes. I just did that because I didn't feel like there was some decent middle ground between the foreground here and the background. I sort of expected to see something definitive kind of along here, and so I just like something along the lines of like a horizon-y sort of line, and so I just like added that on there roughly. Something that might be interesting actually, if you feel like it, is there's probably a subreddit or something like that out there where people post their furry drawings and ask for help and ask for advice and critique and that sort of
Furry
stuff.
drawing school, yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
drawing school.
Yeah, like the MLP Drawing School, same sort of thing. If you want to go on there and just like try to critique other people's drawings, that can be really useful. Like when I was like first, probably like a while into drawing pony, I started like doing stuff like this at the MLP Drawing School, and doing that has helped other people, all that sort of stuff. Cool. But it's like also really helped me in terms of breaking down and explaining things and drawing over things and sort of that sort of stuff. And that might be helpful for you as well if you want to. And if you're getting into this, like stuck into this a little bit more seriously and that sort of stuff, I can recommend it.
Yeah.
Because you learn so much by like looking at what other people struggle with, and then you look at your own stuff and you're like, oh, I see. Oh, and something else I can recommend is get a page in your drawing software or whatever. Put on the page a whole bunch of pictures from artists that you like, and just a bunch of like different like furry animal pictures that you like, or drawings that you like, and then over the top of it, go over it and just like work out the very basic sort of shapes. So, for example, if I was going over yours, I would. So let me create new. There we go. I would probably do something along these lines. Boom. Boom. Something like that. And you just do that for sort of most of the picture and see how far you can simplify it down while still sort of explaining things, the basic shapes and all that sort of stuff. And if you do that sort of thing to like a lot of drawings, it'll basically just show you what shapes other people tend to use, especially like what sort of shapes people tend to use in like specific sort of positions. If they're like looking left, looking forward, looking up, kind of thing, they'll all use like different shapes for their muzzles, for their ears, all that sort of stuff. And if you like explicitly go over and trace other people's work, and trace in like the way you're like breaking it down at the same time, then you can like see what shapes people are using and start to use those in your own work. And it just, it's really useful. Can recommend.
Oh, I have that drawing happening on the side to see you.
All right, you got any final questions for us?
This is super cool. I'm excited to see some more stuff from you.
Yeah, for sure.
Any advice on backgrounds?
I mean, to me, the background is just as much as a character as the character. So kind of the same thing applies, is taking references and really observing them, digging into them, what makes it a good, appealing, background to you. Uh, and just how other artists tackle this concept, like a sunset with a really intense silhouette shadow of what the objects are. Um, like in the case of yours here, you have some really like nice stuff, like this really detailed bench, but it doesn't matter. It's so dark we can barely see it. So something like that, it's like, do you want to be able to see it? Why is it there if we can't see it? This is just my process of thinking through things and stuff I've had people say to me in the past, where it's like, if it's barely visible and barely adding any detail, why does it need to be there in the first place?
And it's
'Cause
so
you can go.
perfectly framed as well. To like, if it had lighting on it, then our viewpoint would be like directly drawn to it. If that was
Like,
more like in light.
these little highlights that are being added really just pop it. But it's like, then you have to think, at least how my thought process is going right now. All art's subjective, so I'm just going off of what my brain's going through right now. But like, is the bench going to take too much attention then? Because I want to look at that really sharp highlight difference, that dark on light. That is like such an intense difference in darkness and light compared to the character itself, that my brain almost wants to go from the sun down to the bench instead of the sun to the character. So it's like there's that balance then in composition. There's just so much to consider. It's hard to just like pinpoint a thing. There's just a
Art
lot
is
happening.
complicated plus plus.
Something that can be useful as well is that when you have like areas of darkness, you tend to like lose a lot of detail. So like with this, you probably, if this was didn't have this and was just this, you probably wouldn't be able to see all of the these sort of things as clearly. So it'd probably just be like a little bit more sketchy, a little bit more, I don't know, faded together and all that sort of stuff. At least that's a pretty common thing that I've heard from different artists and all that.
Yeah.
But no, I like what you've done. Backgrounds are hard. I need to study backgrounds a little bit more. But it's honestly just...
They're really a beast of their own, those backgrounds. There's so much. And it's
Mhm.
not a bad thing. It's just they're just a beast.
Yeah, they can reinforce the sort of shading on the rest of the image a little bit, just by like little bits of highlights and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's definitely a thing. Especially when you've got like such strongish sort of shading like this, having like a background, like showing off where the sun is and how different things in the background are affected by the sun is really useful. Like with these houses sort of in the background, or whatever the things are up here, having something like, oh no, what have I done? Showing off like a little bit of like the directionality of the light by just having it like sort of spill over a little bit could be cool. Doesn't need to be much, but just like a little bit, like the accent. Just to have everything in the picture sort of working towards this sort of center of light, reinforcing everything.
Light coming from the emerald, but
Yeah. I do need to say again, these colors in here, the colors in the fur. Oh my god, I like
Yeah,
that.
really great color choices going on there.
Yeah.
I
All
don't
right.
have much else.
Yeah.
Also, who drew these? These are too good.
Oh, thank you.
The pen selection, like how their pen set up, is usually a good indication of who drew it. Fluffy's eye uses a more solid pen. Pixie uses only a few strokes on a pretty solid but very. It doesn't end in a sharp point pen.
I'm super messy sketchy.
Yeah.
Heck
Uh,
yeah. Not too much in terms of the comments on shading. Looks good. I think at this point it's mostly just if you look back a little bit. LD, can we go up to this picture?
yeah, absolutely. Sorry, pen ran away on me. There we go. Sorry, how up are we going? Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So if you look there, I've just got sort of basic shapes and that sort of stuff. What I probably do is just like practice some more of that. Like what I'll tend to do is I'll tend to just have like a bunch of cubes on a single page, and then I'll just sort of rotate the light around them and that sort of stuff. So like have the cubes be the same shape, and then just for this one have like the shadows coming in this kind of a way. And then in this one I'll have sort of it be like something more like this and that kind of thing. And it's just like an exercise that I use to sort of practice my shadows and shading and all that sort of stuff. I can recommend just like doing that a bunch more, because like it just like reinforces the fundamentals in terms of, you've got the cubes. You can do the same thing with cylinders and with like spheres and triangles and cones and that sort of stuff. But like your shading in general like looks pretty decent. I don't have too much like important useful stuff to contribute there. Could maybe like with the back of the neck, you could maybe like darken or deepen that shadow area a little bit more. But yeah, looks pretty good.
All right. Any other questions there for us?
Don't be too scared to go deep with your shadows, because it can be useful.
All right. Well, have a great day, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
Have
luck.
a good day.
Fun
Show
with
us more stuff.
practicing. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. If you want to come and say hi on our Discord, feel free to come and say hi.
Bye, Plum. Have a good sleep. Thanks for
See
joining
you
us.
well.
Yep, Plum.
Thank you. All right, let's go on to our last picture submitted.
Oh, we do have another picture.
We do.
I was
We
getting
got
ready
so
to
into
say
the
bye.
meta talk.
Yep.
This is by Short Tail, and it's I'll Give It a Try. Dazzle Pop, my OC. Pop, pop, yo.
Fun name. I like it. Dazzle Pop.
I think she came out okay. I was just hoping to take her to the next level. I'm just not sure where yet.
That's fair. This horse is good. Good horse. You've
Yeah.
learned a lot. And it's nice.
They're
It
looking
is
very
a
good.
QT horse, in fact. It is quite QT.
So, you're saying next level, though. Next level can be taken in a few different ways. You can either continue refining the horse itself, or you can start making the horse exist in more than just a void. So, my suggestion at this point would be start working on the void. Give them some place to live. as nice and warm as the white void is, it's not everything. There is occasionally a park bench to sit on elsewhere. So let's talk about background. What is this pony resting on? Right now we see an arm popped up to the side. Looks like it's sitting on something, unless if they're doing like a COVID compliant elbow bump.
Oh my god.
So let's give him something to balance on. I think something appropriate for this would be a fire high. Oh no, that's not a pen. We're gonna go with just like, yeah, I think a fire hydrant's accurate. Sure, that's the no reference hydrant. This is what happens when you don't use references. You forget what a fire hydrant looks like. It now looks like half of one of the Bananas in Pajamas.
Oh my god, I love that show. Sorry.
Oh no.
So yeah, give them somewhere to exist. A picture is generally to help convey feelings, emotions, or tell a story. This is one of the great things about a picture. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, but only if there's enough content in there to get to that point. And what I mean by that is, existing inside of a white void, just sort of staring at the camera, is not enough content to be the 1,000 words. There is no story being told about this image. So if we're to go look at any of the other images that were done this week, all of them are existing inside of some place. Like if you see off to the left of your screen, you'll see the back end of the pony lying down, laying inside of a field. They got a back, like some hills off into the back. There's a little stream, a tree. Maybe they went out for a walk. Maybe they just, fell out of that tree. Who knows? But they're still existing in this area, posing for our picture. Your horse could be right next to them. They could be leaning up against the tree. I hope this rambling makes sense.
It does to me.
Somewhat. It's close enough to making sense that I'm not questioning it, so it's good.
Being undead means you lose a lot of brain cells, so that's my excuse.
What I'm doing is pretty much just changing up some of the shapes a little bit, making it a little bit more focused, at least what I think is a little bit more focused. Like, for example, let's find a decent... With this chest here, the chest will kind of come forward and cover up this connecting sort of shoulder region. So that's why I sort of push this chest out in front. And this hoof, the end of this hoof, is pretty much just like a sort of ovally kind of thing with a bias at one end. So whenever you have like a hoof coming down, you've got where it touches the thing is sort of this ellipse, you could say. And then the front will always have like a little bit of like a shape to it. And the back will be like a little bit more flatter and rounder and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of just what I've done here. I don't need to draw the construction shapes just because I've done it so much. But like something along the lines of here is sort of the front of it going this way. And then it all just goes back into this sort of elbowy region there. With this one's like a little bit more visible to us. So adding a little bit more structure here is good. So at this shoulder, I've sort of bulged it out a little bit. And honestly, that's just something I've sort of learned from drawing real horses and real cats and dogs and stuff, is that there is a little bit something where the front arms meet the torso. And similar kind of a thing. I just have this sort of ellipse looking thing for like the front of the hoof going down this way. And I just extended it a little bit just because it felt a tiny bit short. But that's mostly personal preference. Down at these hoofers, same thing. The bottom ones, the ones that like actually touch the ground, like a little bit of like a weird shape to learn. But if you look at like other people's art and try to break it down and stuff, it can be really useful as well. If you want to, you can also have this sort of main body shape sort of dip in a bit and do something a little bit more like that. And then have this leg connection-y joint thing here sort of come off, directly off there, like. And the sort of smooth flow will make this like back leg feel a little bit more connected. And what you can also do is you can get in, erase the lines here, and then sort of have a little bit of like a space here where the top bit of the bottom bit of the torso sort of just melds directly into the leg without any lines there, and that will also make it feel a little bit more connected, a little bit less like a one of those little pony action figure things where you can just move the legs whatever way. Yeah. Good horse.
He's a really cute horse.
I like it. It's super good.
Sorry, I stepped back in. Roommate came home with cupcakes, so I had to make sure I got one of them.
Dang, roommate.
Why aren't you sharing with the class?
I will. You have to come here to get it. I'm not able to ship food over the border.
Just give me like what, 7 hours?
I think it's only 4.5. Oh no, but you gotta cross the border. Are you considered an essential worker?
It's okay, Ali. Use Pegasus.
Give me 4 to 8
I draw
months.
ponies. That's essential, right?
I mean, working at a McDonald's makes you essential, so.
Jesus Christ.
What? Really?
That's fair, because food service industry. Okay, yeah, I see the connection now.
Yeah. They're like, well, the essential workers still need food. So. And then they just kept expanding that until it covered everyone. Anyway, do we have any other art? Any other questions? Any other horses? Any other
If you are in the chat, put your art in now, or forever hold your peace until next week.
Call the toll-free number and tell us why you like ponies.
Yeah.
Giant secret charters will apply.
That's what? Toll free. Well, little pony.
I see we have something in the chat.
I said secret.
Oh, yes, I do. Sorry, my window is too short to see that.
Oh, little pony.
Bonk.
Oh no.
Bonk.
Why? Picasso, why do you copy paste links so strangely?
Referral link, yeah.
Nah, because it's a furry. No,
Oh, no.
that's not why.
Wait, what happened? What?
It's a
Someone's giving me-
referral link.
No. Little Pony, I think that I accidentally deleted one of your messages because I'm not sure how
You
my link powers
monster.
work.
You, LD, maybe it was
I think what I did is aside one of the messages, you've got these like X's if you're a moderator, and I clicked one of those, and then I was like, how do I exit this? And then like the green arrow, the green tick looked so inviting, and then I was like, oh fuck, oh no.
I feel like this is our own fault.
Just send it to us in Discord, okay, LP?
I already got the picture. It's all on the stream.
Cool. Alright, good.
But I feel like it's our own fault for giving Pixie the power to do that.
Yeah, maybe this was too soon.
Oh no.
Whoa.
We struggle. And we aren't terrified to see you, little pony, you silly goober.
LP, this is too good.
Okay, so, Well, hey, out of sheer curiosity, I have a sketch of a character, but it's a bit uncanny and sort of, well, a bit overwhelming. Feel free to not bother since it's not done, blah, 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 blah. The coloring was done haphazardly after the fact, and it's been a long story of the design overall. Like I said, feel free to not bother. Yeah, we're bothering. This is what we do here. We bother. It could have been just missing an art style thing, but a lot of poems have a bit. Oh no, that's continuation. Yes, this non-horse.
So I think the biggest question I have here is you seem very confused about what you exactly want, and just because of that, because you're not sure of if it's art style choices you're making or what. So I guess I want to ask, if you can clarify that a bit for us, or at least for me. I don't know if the others would like it as well, but I guess I would like to understand what is your choices and what is the choice that you had trouble with, or what direction would you like to go in?
Like to do realism rather than anime-ish sort of proportions.
I see, I see.
Realistic stuff is always interesting.
Especially when you're creating something that's not of reality.
Mm.
Because that takes a lot of meshing things nicely together. Because sometimes real life things don't want to play nice together, even if you're like jamming them all into one space. But that doesn't mean it can't work. Or you can find a way that you like it working. Because sometimes what other people find uncanny valley, some other people are like, oh, that's really interesting. So it's the style thing is it's very self-discovery and very like, what specifically are you looking for? Okay, so the face feels uncanny valley to you.
I was gonna say it reminds me. I do find it kind of interesting. It reminds me of like I don't even know, like it reminds me of something like cartoon wise, but I'm trying to think what exactly.
Mm.
Like it, I almost want to say like something along the lines of like BoJack Horseman, but not that exact thing. If you know what I mean, like that sort of style of animation. I can
You know
imagine
what
this. I can
vibes I'm
imagine this
getting?
moving.
I'm getting
Mhm.
like theatrical costume vibes of like,
Yeah, that
like
too.
I don't want to say Cats the movie, but like the actual musical costumes, that kind of like vibe for the face, because you're keeping it very human, but you want that animal markings, it feels like. That actually might be like, if you were me, I would suggest looking into theatrical costuming. Um because just the way that meshes the human body while still keeping it human but giving those animalistic things, it's just instead of it being the costume, you're just kind of like saying, oh, it's not the costume, it's part of the creature, and then the clothing on top of it's the actual costume. Yeah, theater, there's so many resources and you never know where to look for them. Just like when people get surprised when we're like, yeah, you want to draw ponies, look at cats. You don't think of that. It's there's so much inspiration to be found everywhere, and that's why keeping an open mind in art is so powerful.
Eyes are so weird. Eyes are annoying and the worst, and I hate them. But it can be really good to look at real life models because like it's it, it's hard to like get them like simplified and looking nice. And like the only real advice I have for it is just like try looking at actual models and all that sort of stuff. Like I once a week I tend to do a like a 2 hour life drawing session, and that's really helpful because it just keeps the sort of human anatomy more solidified in my head and all that sort of stuff. Something that I can recommend. It is a life drawing reference that has naked people on it. but it's called Croquis. Croquis Cafe. They have like a lot of stuff on Vimeo that they release, and I just a couple times a week or something like that. If you can find half an hour or whatever, chuck one of those on. Try to chuck that on. Try drawing along with it. It's really good. There's the whole sort of torso, sort of this kind of area. What I've done is I've sort of traced the main line from up here down, and I've just made it a little bit more fluid, like something.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons it sort of looks a tiny bit off to me is I think it's because you've got this sort of quite flowy area up here, and then it goes fairly sharply down to this, and then this is like fairly straight on. And if she's in this kind of mostly sort of relaxed pose, I'd expect it to be a little bit more transition there, just because she's not like explicitly turning for any kind of like actiony reason. So I've just made that a little bit more fluid, and the most important area is to like look at like the belt, where I've kind of made it like explicitly clear that the hips are sort of this sort of direction as well.
I think that looks a lot more natural.
And one of the other reasons it looks natural is because you've got sort of the torso sort of this way, and you've got the hips that way. And if you're looking to like make any natural looking pose, you'll tend to have the hips and the shoulders be in like sort of different directions, kind of. And similar sort of thing for like the bottom of the rib cage and there. You'll tend to have them on like the boom, boom sort of angle when you're just like drawing figures in general. It tends to like look a lot more natural than all that sort of stuff. I think it's called contra pose or something like that. In like fancy normal drawing terms. I don't know. But yeah, I like this pose and all that sort of stuff.
I really like what you did with the hands. Like they're interesting. Like the arms and the hands themselves, it gives really dynamic to like the depth of the pose itself. Like just how they're at different angles, but they feel the different angles. One's sort of coming out, the other's going to the side, and they're also like very like held lofty. Like la ti da ti da. My hands are just floating. I have this looks like a weapon that get cut off.
I got a
And then,
knife.
oh look.
Scalpel.
With the eyes, something that is just an interesting thing to keep in mind is that if the pupils aren't touching either eyelid, then the character's going to look like a bit crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're meant to
okay.
look crazy.
That's
I
always
think
a rule
that
that I
they're-
keep in mind as well.
I was trying to figure out because like they look creepy, scary, and like
It's like, what are they
I couldn't
looking
figure it
at?
out,
Why
and
do
that was
the
it.
why do the
Yeah.
irises need to be in this specific place? Also, it might be me, but it almost feels like they're not looking at the same location either. But
I
like
was
you
I
could
was, I
easily
was
have
thinking that they're
you can have the character looking upwards a little bit. I think would be the most natural, or perhaps at the viewer. Either way, I think the eyes need to be more focused on something because at the moment they're just sort of like staring into nothing.
Well,
no,
yeah,
I
looking at the
definitely got that
viewer.
feeling, Little Penny.
Yeah. Especially if you want to emphasize the like looking insane, because the thing, looking at the viewer, you can either look like you look. The thing about drawing with eyes looking at the viewer, they're either really sweet and it's like, oh, it makes me want to come to the picture because I'm making eye contact, or it's like, holy shit, that's creepy. So that could add to the insaneness.
It's at first, like looking out, I thought this was like a traditional drawing, but zooming in, it looks more digital. was this digital, LP? So I was originally going to say the advice works either way. I was originally going to say like what you've done is absolutely fine, but to emphasize like the color of the hair, which is supposed to be quite bright and vibrant, I think, from the looks of it, it's lovely pink color. It's sort of like muddied by the black pencil,
Oh
and
yeah.
I was going to suggest like trying in the future using like a pink pencil to do it. But if this is digital, also you can just like change the line color to pink. You can lock transparency and just go over it. But definitely experimenting with a color like that might be quite nice. Just to emphasize the vibrancy of it.
Wonderful thing about
Yeah.
digital, very easy to correct the colors, assuming they're on a
Yeah.
layer that's separate from everything else.
I'm assuming that you're just like focusing on getting everything drawn first and then changing the line colors, which is what I do as well.
Show-offs. Being able to change things after they're down.
Dom, you can too. You're gouache.
You got to get the magic color changing pen. That's all.
Okay, I'll give you gouache, Ken. It's just, you gotta be careful.
You do. You gotta be careful with that gouache.
Yeah, the rest of this like looks really good. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, doing just like regular life drawing sort of stuff will just like really help, I think, if you're able to or allowed to or whatever.
Yeah, definitely a long way.
Yeah, I think you've clearly done a lot of progressing since we last sort of saw you hanging around the MLPDS. You've clearly done a lot and been going places. I think you've shown
Heck
some
yeah.
really great development.
Hell yeah.
Alright, does anyone else have any other art, any other questions? Any... Oh,
I think
Flare.
there was something. Yeah.
Art critique in the... Oh, horse!
Whoa!
And the horse appears.
Yes.
It seems like a lot of paragraph of text for
Okay,
a line drawing.
just a second out.
Well, we're gonna need to take a second here. It's a lot to take in.
We're used to them throwing pictures up like this. They do it on the subreddit too. We just usually scroll through and find their finished-ish one. So there it is. That's the one. No, wait. Yes. View image. Enhance. Save. No, not email. Alright, Allie, well, you just got the picture emailed to you. Enjoy.
Nice. I love getting horses emailed to me. Also, Little Pony, what misunderstanding? While we're getting this set up,
I
we'd
think
love
the
to
comments from
unmisunderstand.
these. Yeah. It's hard to explain things textually.
Hmm.
We're gonna
So
fight.
Matt, I'll just say this: we gave you a lot to chew on. Critique
Oh,
is
yeah.
great, but just doing picture after picture is just going to be an overload of information. So take what we
Yeah.
gave you. We gave you a lot to chew on. Just getting more isn't going to help in any
Yeah.
way.
This is why we typically only have one picture per stream for each person.
Mhm.
So you're welcome to get help in the Discord if you go into our critique channel, or you can come back next week. Whatever you desire.
Oh no, Flare, you're all good.
No, we like the amount. We just try not to say it all in the stream, or else we'd be here for a little while, which we have no problem being. Anyway,
This is
it's a lot
like
of
the
Claire,
exact opposite of
listen.
everyone that just posts a picture without any question whatsoever. Like you are
Yes.
very
Yeah.
thorough, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, I was about to say this is like because usually it's like, hey, I drew something. It's like, okay, any
Help,
questions?
please.
You give us
I
a
want,
good.
my
detailed
question is I
background.
want critique. Help, please.
I
Thoughts
know
on the
people do it
canvas?
here, and I'm just gonna be that person. I hate it when they're like, just rip it apart. I'm like, no, that's not no.
That's not a good attitude either.
No. It's like, what do you want help with? What did you struggle with? I'm not gonna sit here because it could your art could mean 1,000 things to you and mean a different 1,000 things to me. So
Mhm.
So,
Anyway.
Flare, I went with this picture. I guess your other picture was right before this one. I went with this one because you're looking at your picture and asking questions about this part and how it can be corrected. So I thought it would be the best one to tackle because you're already looking at that self-critique part. So we can follow it along with you.
Woo!
But if you want us to do the other one, I'm more than happy to post that one too.
I was wondering if you could give any critique on how the muzzle should look. I also pointed out the chin line that lines up with the head in a separate picture because it doesn't seem right. How should that go? The added difficulty for me is that this pony is a male and also has a differently shaped muzzle than the standard female pony muzzle, as I'm far more used to, which also makes this muzzle guide box blob thing different to what I use from a female pony. So the muzzle. And second question, what about the far wing and the far ear? Did I get them right? I had a bit of trouble with those as well, so...
Alright, well, I'm going to work from second question to first.
Yeah.
Because doing things in straight lines is crazy. Wings. Almost there. Your first wing, wonderful. Like your closest wing, it's great. You've even attached it at a good point. This is very MLP horse wing. It's wonderful. Great for the show. Great for even drawing if you're doing standard MLP style horses. Your second wing only has 2 feathers, according to what we're seeing. And the plumage is very different from your first wing. The nice thing about having that first beautiful wing as you're right in front of it is you can use that as an easy template for, oh my gosh, for the second one. Here we go. Second wing. Easy template. Boom! And we get to hide the rest of the feathers if we choose to. That is how I would do that second wing, is I would just toss it right on there because they're about just a few degrees angle, so we'll only get a little overlap. We get to hide most feathers. I hope that makes a bit of sense. If you want them to be in different positions, however, and you're not looking for that sort of holding my arms in the same spot sort of look, that's perfectly doable. So if you wanted that far wing further ahead, much like it is, first feather is going to be that long... here, let's do a different color for you. So this makes more sense. First feather is going to be that nice and long one that you have. And we're going to follow that up down the side with a few more. And then that's out further ahead like you have it, but it still gives us the more feathers that you're showing. Anyone going to tackle the muzzle, or do you want Ramble Pants to do it?
I'm doing some sketching because I do particularly struggle with this angle of muzzle, the facing upwards. I'm just sketching on the side.
With the ear, I'll tackle that. With the ear, what I tend to do is I tend to have the front of the ear be more straight, and then have the back of the ear be like more curved. You can go like a little bit more complex and have like these sort of shapes that kind of build on each other, like Dolaris does some really interesting ear shapes and all that sort of stuff. But no, I reckon that this ear looks pretty good. The thing you want to keep in mind is just like where it connects. I think if I look in your other drawing, you'll probably have done this already. But sort of here's like a rough connection point, and so you want everything to sort of aim towards that point a little bit. Doing it that way, or if you have it like facing down a little bit, it'll all like sort of rotate around that point roughly. So I might just like emphasize the difference between like the front and the back of the ears, so straight and curved. See you, LP.
Bye-bye.
Bye. With the back wing, I'd probably do something. I'd probably like just do the opposite to LD. That's just because artists like different things, yeah.
What?
And have sort of this wing be like a little bit more like that, and have the back wing be like a little bit more like facing out at this like weird kind of an angle. But that said, I also just really like things being different. Like with these two front hooves, I'd probably like have one sort of down here, and then the other one sort of facing reaching forwards or something like that. Or if you're gonna have them like meet in the middle, then like have them very explicitly like start off from different places and meet at the same place in the middle. Just because variety is really cool, and it makes your picture more interesting to look at.
Oh, sorry.
No, you had the muzzle right there, Ellie. It was right.
Well, it's like,
You
okay, so
pulled the bottom in.
the thing is, okay, here's my reasoning why I just got rid of it. Because Flare tends to do it in more show style, and I'm just so off. I'm so far away from show style at this point. It didn't feel right. I felt like it was way more my muzzle. And I'm trying to channel show style, but it's hard. Show style is so hard because it's just too simple. It's too simple for me without defining the shapes. The closest person I can think of that took the show style and made it really good into 3D would be NC Mares. Their stuff was really close to show style, but you still got that 3D feel from it, which is exactly what I just said. But anyway, um, yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard drawing muzzles in show style. At least in like odd angles.
That can looks good. I'd probably just like something that I tend to do whenever I'm drawing muzzles in this kind of a way is I just push that out just a little bit more, and down on the bottom line of the sort of muzzle there, I tend to have this like little bit of like a dip, tiny little dip up, and I don't know why. Yeah, I haven't dug into it, but it just like looks cool. But I think in general, sort of the muzzle shape you've gone for is pretty decent. I wouldn't really have too
Yeah,
many notes on it.
I would like honestly, if you want to make it feel more stallion, is just make it chunkier,
Chonk.
and you could literally take your lasso tool and extend it sideways a little or extend it out a little. It's just make it chunkier.
Chonk. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, no, definitely. I can definitely, with the picture you've linked, I can definitely see what you mean there. The main reason that I'd sort of have the wing go this kind of a way is like even if it's like not accurate to the 3D, it's just a little bit more of like a difference in shape. Like having versus having this there and having this there, it's like a little bit more accurate, but it's feels a little bit like less interesting just because the two things are sort of in the same place, they're directly connected together, and it's harder to get them to like look like they're visually separate. But I really like the kind of breakdowns you're doing. Sort of like the breakdowns you're doing like show that you're like learning a lot more about the 3D positions of everything and all that sort of stuff. And you know, just keep pushing on that, and you'll
Ooh.
definitely just like be learning more and get more of a sense and intuition for how that all fits together and all that.
And making like a quick observation, thanks to Maze posting a reference between a muzzle stallion or a muzzle of a stallion smiling and mare, and it's like their muzzles are more square in a way where you have this curve going directly under the muzzle like that, where if you look at the stallions, it's a little more squared off down there. So it would go over a bit before it goes into the smile. That's like a little thing they did, I think, to help with the stallions, where
That's
you
just
have
where it
like
went.
the mares have these little boopy snoots,
Mhm.
where the stallions are more like
Yes.
squares. It's like squares versus circles, kind of.
Mm.
That's like the emphasis difference.
It's super tough to learn them in 3D, but it's super useful and helpful. Because like right now it's awful and it's bad and it doesn't look how you want it to, and it's like hard and it's like but like doing this sort of stuff and pushing yourself to like learn these sorts of things will help in the future when you just like want to, you just want to like sketch out like ponies and like not care too much about it. You'll have like that background knowledge and that background sort of intuition and senses and all that sort of stuff. So you don't need to stress too much about like how this specific drawing looks, so long as you're, learning stuff and practicing all this kind of thing. That's the important thing, because that's the stuff that'll like help you in the future when you want to like draw more ponies.
Hell
More
yeah.
horses.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any other art they'd like to submit, or any other questions they'd like to ask?
Such as, how does Ellie maintain that beautiful mane where things get lost in?
You see, I just stick it under a bandana, and it takes care of itself.
Bandana
The
magic, right?
bandanas are magic, you see.
Jenny mentioned the sort of jaw shape. If you're like looking up, you'll tend to have like this kind of like a thing from under here, a little bit more. So you get like a little bit less of that sort of explicit thing if you're like, as opposed to like if you're looking down on the heart when you have this like explicit like jaw shape here. But yeah. See ya, Matt.
Night night. Or good
Ah.
day.
Or
Salutations.
good morning, or whatever.
It's hard to get that like little jaw shape looking good. Every time that I like draw somebody with that sort of shape, it just like the only way I can describe it is they end up looking really Chad. Like that, like their jaw is like the most defined thing in the universe.
Ha! I have a chiseled jaw. Fear me. I shall use it to beat up my enemies.
How I think it would look is probably just something along the lines of let me erase everything. Oh yes, so that's the power that I hold in this Aggie. Probably just like a little bit more, because the head is sort of leaned really forward. There's a lot of sort of pulling, stretching sort of force here, and so the sort of skin here or the fur here would sort of be a lot more of like this gentle sort of curve. And because you don't have, because the jaw shape isn't like explicitly like visible like this, you'd probably just like leave it something like that, to be honest. You could go in and like add some shading like through here, but that would just depend on like where you shape everything. Like you would have this sort of jaw shape here, but I don't know if I'd like really express it through anything. I'd probably just like leave it as is. That's something that I find really useful, is just to focus on the whenever you have like two shapes that are like together in bodies, you'll tend to have like one side that has this pinch, and then the other side has this sort of like stretch. And this whole sort of shape occurs a whole lot in like when you're drawing people, when you're drawing like ponies. Like you might have like a little bit more of a stretch, a bit of like a, what's it called, thing on this side, and then this side would be the stretch or something like that. But I don't know, I tend to find myself using these sorts of shapes a whole lot all over the joint.
The pony head spin right round.
Ivy won't let me paste the thing.
Right around.
Didn't shoot. Who is the 3D artist who made the really show accurate 3D models that were like super fancy but then released the 3D model itself?
DJ Hurd?
Yeah, DJ Hurd. Flair,
Who's released it?
why don't you grab, I think they released one or two of them, but grab that 3D model and boom, you have a reference of a 3D show realistic model.
That's so good. I really legitimately want to have a one of the future MLP shows be like a 3D show based off
No.
of his model.
Stop! No!
Come on, they're gonna go do 3D eventually. I'd rather it be DJ Ted's model.
I want it to live in this 2D world. Even when it jumps into like a VR watching element of it, somehow it's still going to be 2D at all times, even as you rotate your head. 2D world.
I could have sworn they released one for free or two for free. Either way.
I think I don't remember or whatever they're named too.
Oh yeah, well those are more Source Filmmaker, aren't they? Those are the Source Filmmaker models.
Yeah, but aren't they responsible for making up a bunch of the like ways they actually move and updating all the details on them so they're more show-like while still moving sanely?
Maybe. I don't know for sure.
Anyway, there's a bunch of nerds out there doing nerdy stuff to make awesome things.
Use those nerds.
I've been trying to like learn Blender just so that I can like chuck a
Sure.
bunch of things in, chuck the lights in, and then have it work out all the perspective for me. I don't need to worry about it. It's been really good.
Really is just making a fruit punch of a drink.
Also, embroidered. I'm sorry, but you're not allowed to like improve this much. Because this looks too good.
These are really fun. I love how much you've like pushed the style in different directions.
Oh, if you're looking for something like that, my friend Flair, what I will do.
Wait, can she hear us?
No, embroidered can't.
Oh.
Oh no.
We will, however, throw them the link to the video, but it'll probably be past this because I won't remember.
I'd ask if there's any questions, but you haven't had any questions for us ever.
Well, we can ask in chat and see if they have anything at all.
Flair, here is an example of an artist that I really like and their sort of breakdown of muzzle shapes. Which is interesting. It's always interesting to see like the ways that different represent their stuff. They don't have like the up and down stuff, but they have like the from the side and looking more straight on and all that sort of stuff. But like a lot of that is just like you'll learn it over time, and you know, as you break it down and you look at other people's drawings and all that sort of stuff, you'll find the shapes that work for you.
Alright, so Flaird's picture. Or
Yeah,
embroidered, sorry, not Flaird. Brain. Gone.
So good.
Words.
It's been gone for years.
Tough.
So just some general shading and also the ear on the bottom right. The ear, if I'm allowed to start critiquing,
You're allowed. But only this once.
one of the things that threw me off first is that there's like a bit of hair that sort of goes onto the ear, which just feels sort of unnatural to how hair would move. Let me just get my tablet to sort of screen. So we go. Pen tool. Give me pen tool. No, don't type in Discord. Okay, pens. No. Okay. Yeah, this part here threw me off because it makes the ear look like it's going up like this, and oh, my screen is laggy, so bear with me. But it looks like the ear is doing this, and it's like, why is the ear like offset? Then you realize it's because a bit of hair is sticking in front. But it's really hard for the brain to like really see. Oh, that's like a strand of hair that's sticking up. Also, why is there a strand of hair that's like a dagger just shooting up into the ear? So that sort of threw off my approach to visualizing this image a little bit. That's the only problem I could see with the ear itself, really.
I mean,
It's kind
how
of hard to determine like where the ear is and where it's going, really, because your
how
lines
I'd
aren't very
solve
clear.
it is like this, and you wouldn't see any of the inside of the ear at all because of
Mm-hmm.
how far turned it is. But that would also lead to saying that this eye might be far too big for being so turned around. I can't.
Their
Is
eyes
this
are
a
always
side
absolutely
view,
massive.
or is this
It
a
is.
like a 3/4 pointed away from you?
I think it's a side view. I forgot that my ability to draw on Brave is limited because everything is laggy. But really, like you don't have to do this because the show doesn't, but the show should. This is really how like the side view should look with the eyes, because you got like the front of the
Oh.
eyeball is this part here, with the pupil like this, or I guess in this case the pupil will be like this. But when you look at someone's eye from the side, because the eye isn't a circle on the side of the head, it's a ball held inside of a socket, and when we look at it from the side, the eye does have this sort of like bracket look. With of course the lashes sort of like here. That's way too long, but I can't control my pen very well right now. Uh,
Oh.
it depends on how much you want to go for like actual like realism, or really just want the eye to break physics and be a sticker on the side of the head, no matter which direction you're looking at the head on, which is very uncanny.
Mm. See, the thing, it's not so much the eye. I can see how this is a side view now. For me, that made it think it was a 3/4 facing away from us was the hair. This hair looks like it's in 3/4 facing away from us, where if it was, if it was directly behind, it would have more of like a, well, here, here's the head, and it's like a messy bun, right? So it'd be more like this with the stick going through sideways and everything kind of, so we wouldn't see as much of this. At least we wouldn't see it defined as it is, because to me this
Mm.
reads as, okay, so if the pin's going like this, then like I read that as side view because usually the pin is flush with the head itself. Like it'd want to go in like that instead of like this. If hopefully that makes sense.
It goes like parallel to the head.
Yeah. So flesh or whatever it is. But yeah, right now, if you
What's
want it to
happening
be
in
a side
Pixie's
view
drawing over
behind
there?
a many-eyed twy.
I thought that my Aggie was glitching out for a second. It's like amalgamating an Undertale.
It's like no, it's a smear animation.
Yep. That's a 1 frame animation, and I decided to draw the smear frame.
I love it. It's beautiful.
I just need to say, the shapes of this, like the shapes that you've gone through in the hair and stuff like that, they look so good. I love them. I like how you're drawing. It's really good.
Yeah, it seems like you're having a lot of fun with these different styles and experimenting, which like hell yeah,
Mm.
experimenting.
Like looking at the stuff that you have done, just like even like half a year ago or something like that, and looking at these, it's just like whoa,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, oh my gosh. You're doing a lot of learning and a lot of practice and all that sort of stuff, and it really, really shines and really shows. In terms of the shading, I think that it looks pretty good. With this top left one here, I'm a little bit not quite sure of the directionality. Um, this one sort of has the shadow going this way, but that's sort of not reflected as much on the rest of the face or on the rest of the hair. Like this bit of hair sort of shows the shadows going this way. Shadows going on this bit of hair, the shadows going sort of this way. It might be useful to just like earlier on in the thing I like went through just like drawing a bunch of circles or spheres and a bunch of like cubes and just like trying to shade them and draw them from like different directions and all that sort of stuff, and that might be helpful just to in terms of like showing a consistent sort of a shadow lighting position and all that sort of stuff. But like the actual like shading itself looks great. It's just having the consistent direction might be pretty useful in helping these pictures read a little bit more easily. Let me turn down the opacity there. Like I probably have this will be like fairly with the highlights being there. I'd probably just like have most of this sort of be in shadow.
The picture's horrifying, Maze.
That representation which should look like facing front. Yeah, I always hated that character. Why it hurts me as an artist.
Alright, anyone else have any other art they'd like to submit? Any other questions they'd like to ask? Any other stories of battling dragons and tacos?
Any other snacks they'd like to prepare?
I'm having tacos tonight.
Floor tacos?
Ooh.
Floor tacos.
Is there...
Floor tacos.
Does gravity have that much of an effect on a taco? Or is
Listen,
it the
you
extra
don't
flavor?
question. You don't question these things. You know, just they just are.
Yeah. I do need to say, this one up here, the shading is awesome. And
Yes.
something that I tend to do whenever I'm like starting to like shade a picture or something like that is I'll like take it, I'll shrink it down really, really small, and then I'll just shade it as though it's like one of those ball pictures or something like that. Like, okay, lights come from here, so I'll have something like that, roughly. This sort of like bit of a cylinder will also be pretty in shadow. This sort of will also be in all that sort of stuff. And then that I can use that as a bit of a guide to show me, okay, in general, this whole area here will sort of be in shadow. And if that area isn't in shadow, then something's gone wrong. Either my little example sketch is wrong, or I'm doing something special in here.
My little example.
Like with this.
My little example.
Like with this hair poking up a little bit and catching the light from there. But yeah, I like it. It's good. Good horse. Good horses. Unlike this is not a good horse. This is a horse who has been very bad. But yeah.
Woo!
I'm so excited whenever we get to see some more of your stuff. So keep sending us things. Oh yes.
Yes, I admire greatly your will to experiment. It's what I love to see most in people's art. Is just like go fucking buck wild. Sorry, I used our F word for the stream. Go buck wild.
You used the
It
B
wasn't
word
even
too.
the Australian.
Well, if so, Pixie, if you say it, it's just part of the regular vocab.
Yeah, I only
Yeah,
get
yeah.
one. You can
Yeah.
say it as much as you want.
I suppress myself on here. It's all good. Don't worry.
All right. Well, seeing as no one else is catapulting tacos with pictures of their horses inside of it at us, we'll be calling it a day. So thank you all
Mhm.
for coming, and we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Woo! Bye.
Bye.
Bye.